So we're going to get started. Start by going over the minutes from the September 26th meeting. Did anyone have any comments or changes that need to be made? September 26th? October 24th? Oh, October 24th, sorry.
Okay,
Last
great.
time we approved the meeting. You're right.
I move to accept the minutes.
Okay. Second. All in favor? So then the next thing we have are the meeting dates for next year. We kind of tried to keep the same schedule that we had, which was the
Third Monday?
the last Monday.
Third Monday.
Third Monday, fourth Monday. Oh, go third or fourth Monday?
You're right, fourth, yeah.
Fourth Monday, thank you. And so then we did the workshop dates as the, it looks third Monday of the month, so the Monday right before our meeting. So we'll have to look and see. Everybody go home and check your calendars and see how that works.
So here's another suggestion. Do we want to flip those?
I have library board on the fifth.
No?
I have the Legion third
I
Mondays.
Oh, Monday's no good, okay.
All right. Third Mondays, yeah.
So for
So,
the public workshops, see if there's a better day that works for everybody.
Are these in-person meetings, the public work?
They're in
Yes.
Have to be there in person?
yeah,
preferably.
we have a problem with this room. You know, there's many committees. But we could always go somewhere else. We could use the fire department, or there are other places to go. So,
So if there's a better day of the week for everybody,
yeah,
let us know and we'll try to find either an alternate location where we can have the meeting or a different time or, you know, we'll
The
try to,
third Monday is a problem for me.
and Sean, so that's good.
so we'll try to do something different.
And we chose Monday because we figured people would stay out as opposed to the Friday.
Well, because it's hybrid, we figured, and Friday is the same issue as Monday,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But if there's a better day of the week, let us know, and we'll see what days we can
See,
figure
I
out.
can't predict. I have to look at my.
Yeah, that's what's work. Figured everyone can take them home and look at it and see what they can.
Let's try not to have Friday in the hopper. You know, I mean, Friday's just a tough night. I
Yeah.
think, have a meeting. Occasionally we do it when we have to, but
Well, we probably don't have work meetings on Friday night.
Probably
Oh.
not.
I have family everywhere, you know.
And you're not voting on either one of these?
I don't think we'll vote on them. I think people will go home, look at their calendars. And we'll vote on them next meeting.
Oh, wait, Coco, do you have a deadline or something that you need to consider for the meeting dates? Not,
I need to get them into all the counts.
The clerk.
Right.
Yeah, so
right.
that's
We
fine.
can always move a date, right? If we-
Right, why don't we, since fourth, we're used to fourth.
So we'll approve the meeting,
Yes.
our CPAC meeting dates, because it's always the fourth Monday. And
Let's
then
do it.
we'll do the workshop dates later.
Right,
Right. So make a motion to approve the meeting dates for the CPAC meetings for the 2023 calendar year.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that's approved. All right, so we'll sort out the public workshop here.
feedback on the.
You want to do the next one?
Yeah, what did everybody think of that last workshop? It feels like it was 2 years ago. Hasn't it? It's just, feels like ancient history.
No members of the public?
Here?
John,
Coco, can one of the screens show, the boxes, not just us, do you know what I mean? Yeah, thanks. It's just there now.
Yep.
So anyway, anybody else have anything to say about the last public workshop?
I was very heartened by the number of comments that we
Yes.
got ahead of time.
Yes.
And they were all very thoughtful
True.
and very substantive. I mean, I realize that you're probably disappointed in terms of the number of people that actually came, but
That'll change, I
You
think.
know, it's
Well,
what it is. But I think the fact that people took the time ahead of time to read and comment on things was really
yeah,
very encouraging.
and
And it was good stuff.
it was
Yeah, it
good
was
stuff.
good content.
Sorry, I just wanted to mute that. I do have a suggestion though for future, trying to, again, amp up public participation. I mean, I don't want us to get to the end of the line here and be criticized because people didn't come. I mean, I know, but I want to say, well, we did everything possible. You know, we placed the ads, we do. So Coco has some ideas, they come a little bit later, but I just think this is not a bad place to put this in. I've contacted the reporter, I wanted to write an article or have us do it. But they didn't like, Ambrose didn't like that idea, but he will give us Julie Lane, and she will write us an article every month to say what's happening. Watch it, we're on public. And so the monthly article would be the progress, what we have done, a reiteration pretty much every month and what we're working on now, and then what's coming up next, coming attractions. Also, every month I want to remind people, how can you be heard? In the article, I mean, it could get redundant by June, but okay, go to the website, go to the, press the button and go to the chapter, and please at the bottom, you can contribute. And then each month, again, will be dates and time, both for this meeting, the regular meeting, and the workshop. So I'm just hoping that I was surprised, I have to say, in the housing brouhaha, how many people will really pay attention to the reporter. So I think this is, in the age of social media or not, it's still a really good way to get to the Islanders.
Just a suggestion.
Yes.
We should script give Julie a fact sheet
Yes,
as opposed to
Yes.
relying on her taking notes.
yes,
Totally agree.
okay,
It-
so it's really great.
Anything that is critical that we want to get across should be,
Right.
So it doesn't get missed somehow.
yeah.
We really want it to be as neutral and unladen, yeah.
So I apologize if it's already there, posted somewhere, but are there minutes from the public meetings for those of us who couldn't be there that we could get a sense of?
I think the recording is in SharePoint, so you can watch it if you want to. And then, do we have minutes from the public meetings? It's on YouTube.
Is it? Oh, yes.
It's all on YouTube.
And SharePoint.
And
Yeah.
SharePoint.
But we don't keep minutes, that's what I thought. That's why I was asking that we needed some kind of reinforcement after the meeting, because, the time to watch it again,
Watch it into time.
yeah, but having participated, I'm gonna ask Julie here to make that. Yeah. Okay, good.
And most of the comments we also got in written format, so they're all in that spreadsheet.
Yeah,
So a lot of the comments came in that way.
So the ones I sent in to you, that came in that way, I
on the
was,
spreadsheet?
no,
Oh.
but the comments that I submitted that were coming in through the public,
Oh, yeah,
right? They came through. I did that on purpose because I wanted to see how that was for
right,
the public to send notes in.
right, yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
mine ended up on that public side. I wanted to see, is this really hard or what?
Right.
And what's your verdict?
It's easy.
Oh, yeah,
Super
good.
easy.
Good.
We had
I did the same thing. I wanted to put a comment in, so I just did it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, super easy, great,
It's tough for people to show up to the public workshops. It's great if they can.
yeah,
We also need to promote funneling them to that site. Listen, if you can't make it,
right,
here's the chapter, read it, and then it's so easy, just hit a comment box and drop that in.
Yeah.
So we can promote that kind of hand in hand with showing up in person.
yeah, definitely.
So the other thing is, which I think came out of that public session, which I was trying to reiterate, that this, as you all know, especially Meg and BJ, because you're constantly in SharePoint documents that are living documents that are continuously changing because comments are coming in, this is happening live. It's, continually updating, taking in comments, thinking it over, everyone's working as a team, to change that. So the public has to understand that it's, you hear something on the street, it's not necessarily written in stone because we're a team that's listening. So I think that has to be said. So like when you say, let's have an article in the paper. So there needs to be almost like a little, here's our box, a little graphic that's going to be there at the bottom of that article every month, and it says the following.
Right.
This is a living document. we're constantly boom, boom. Here's where you can go, stay updated, read each of these chapters. They'll constantly, here's where you get them. Here's how you can make comments.
Right.
It also does take people a while to have it set in, so don't be concerned about have it being redundant. Just
Yeah.
keep putting it out the same. I like your.
Right,
We
right.
can also do an ad. If we
Yeah.
want to make sure that certain content gets in consistently, we
Right.
can do it as an ad.
Yeah,
With
and
the
again, with
QR code to our website, the whole thing, because I have.
I think that's a really good
We
idea.
can also post it in the social media group since there's so much other negative stuff going on there. We might as well
Yeah,
put our little link in there.
yeah, regularly though,
Like, that's what I'm
You
saying,
know,
like,
yeah.
we've done it here and there, but I don't think we've been consistent with that, so.
yeah.
And quote unquote, like ad type thing, QR code is something that going to the Shelton Gazette.
Yep.
I mean, more people go to there because of social content being online.
Right.
And I'm just going to reiterate what everybody says, when you're dealing with this type of deep substantive, it's like watching molasses drip, right? It's a slow process.
It is
People
slow.
don't jump in because we haven't said anything that says, your taxes are changing. We're affecting
Yeah,
something
that's,
that
I mean, that was the
really-
difference with the housing thing.
Yeah.
There was a financial
Right.
implication.
Yeah,
Someone saw something really changing something. Nothing's really
Yeah.
coming out. No one's reading anything there that's, so, until that happens, the room is not gonna be filled.
right.
Right.
Well,
This next couple chapters will fill the room.
and I would like a balanced fill, but I can't control that. But I also was disappointed, I must say, in the last public meeting, that someone who had made a really good comment way early in our process, and it got adopted, and that person, I believe, was told that it was adopted, didn't see it in whatever they were looking at. And that's something that I really want to examine a little bit further, like that, word for word, those comments were put into, this person's comments were put into that chapter because they were good and we all agreed with them. So somehow that shouldn't happen, that people should know that they took the time and we discussed it and we responded to them to say that it was.
So here's something, and I know, because I know how hard you're working on the backside,
Yeah.
and when you update documents and you're in SharePoint, getting stuff onto the front side on that website
It's not happening.
is a grueling task, because you think you've loaded, you don't know when
Yeah.
you're working on websites, you see it one way, and then you have to go back out and see where did it really land,
Yeah.
and did I get the right thing?
And did it reformat itself?
Did it reformat? It's all of
the bane
those.
of my existence.
It's really all of those steps, and, I'm constantly working with a larger organization, like, you didn't update that.
Yeah.
You're still saying the place is closed, and we're not, we're open. So,
Right.
if you need like someone to like say, hey, I did that, can you go look from the other side? We can.
But is that
really
what the
support it.
consultants are ultimately gonna do for us, is to clean this whole thing up?
Well, yes, in terms of
Yeah.
presentation, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
We
definitely a
just gotta make sure it
polish.
doesn't get lost between here and there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But having it on the public, on the town's public side of the website, for people saying like, hey, I didn't see it. Because a lot of times I go that way, because I'm just like, I gotta quickly go, because
Right.
I got like 3 computers in my house going.
Yeah.
So it's like, which computer am I going to, that I'm allowed to look at which thing? And I get like, I don't know which document I'm looking
right,
at.
right.
So I understand some of the public's frustration.
Yeah.
And that's just giving us good critique.
It is.
Okay?
No,
And,
it upset me because we went out of our way that time and we're not always going to be able to do that. And it still didn't have the correct.
Wait, so was it not correct, or
No,
was it
right,
correct,
right.
they didn't see it?
They didn't see it, and maybe they didn't see it because of what
It might not
Rebecca's
have been
talking
on the
about.
public, when you go to the town's
Or to the
website,
website.
that chapter wasn't there.
Right, and that's, we need to then be on that,
It's not just the public that can get confused. I went today to make comments, and I did it on the public site on the quality of life utilities, community services. And it somehow didn't get through to you, BJ, or you didn't find it, even though I signed my name, I put my email, and then you sent me an edited version, which was the last 5 pages, action items and everything were substantively different. So I didn't even know where that one was coming from. So here I am, and I was having confusion in how
Let
to
me
enter my
interrupt you.
comments at this
Let me
point.
interrupt you, Lily. I hate to say this, but when you're not here at the meeting and not gone for a medical reason, you're not really a member of the meeting. So unfortunately, you kind of have to wait till it's public.
I was
I
not
know.
aware of, one second,
know,
I was
but
not
it's
aware that we are not considered members of the meeting when we have not sent in a medical. No one has ever told me this, but thank you.
No. I was actually just made aware of it myself. That's why I'm sort of bringing it up. You know, just I was just that's just it. You're just not a
I
participant.
wasn't told that, so I'm sorry for speaking up.
No, I know that. I'm just saying it now.
Okay.
That's, you know, so
Just to clarify, under the New York, as I understand it, under the New York Open Meetings Law, a public meeting has to have an in-person quorum in order to take any action, ranging from approving the minutes on down. Any committee members who elect, for whatever reasons, to sign in, participate remotely, actually only participate as members of the public. They cannot vote, and they can't be counted as a quorum.
right.
That's
Exactly what I'm saying. And then therefore are not, and also part of the conversation, because I think the further step of this is the most ridiculous part of the law, but it is there, which is if you wish, then you have to make your location known.
That's right. We got this at the library. If you're going to be on the road to Florida, you have to say, I'm going to be in the Holiday Inn.
Come join me.
In Augusta, where, yes.
So, I mean, this is not Shelter Island, this
Right.
is state law.
Right.
And I don't want to be, you know.
Just to clarify, that is how we have to operate.
Could we get back to the kind of initial thing? I think part of Lily's concern, and I have to share it, is that it's really hard to know what documents to look at. So we got a Word document on the chapter, but I've been using SharePoint to edit things. So I had to kind of edit it on my computer and then send it out. It's very confusing where to find stuff. And if you go to the SharePoint folder, I think people might not know what document to work with.
Well, I was puzzled and perturbed by the confusion. I wanted to start, as we got these chapters close to the semi-final draft, I wanted to do a new process, because it does get confusing on SharePoint. Who made what comment? Did it get in? Maybe it doesn't need to. So I sent out an email with an attachment and pretty clear instructions on, this is where you're going to make and you're going to reply to all of CPAC, so everybody can see what because right now,
I think I
it should
did.
be 2 or 3. Right now, I think we're at the point with these chapters that we're working on, we're at the point where it should be like 3 or 4 comments, if that. You're going to pick up, Joanne picked up some typos and really.
As did I,
polish.
right, okay. So
Right.
I didn't realize that now we're shifting to a new system and we're now using a Word document that then we have to kind of send back. But is it a living document? Is it like a document that if Sean edits it and I edit it?
You're going to make your corrections on there so that I can see your corrections.
All right,
It's all
so we
coming
all see
back.
the same corrections, even though I'm sending it as an attachment. Somehow,
Everybody can see the attachment if they want to open it.
no, but we're sending back different attachments.
Yeah, so you send a Word document to CPAC. They can, everybody.
Yeah, the problem is though that you can't see the various versions from everybody
That's my
together.
point.
No, not until, but
That was my.
but if Wendy says, put this in, I disagree with this comment, put this in there.
But I don't want to say something if Sean's already said it, is my point. Then if, and so it's,
These track changes?
Right, but the reason I wanted to be able to, at this point, keep one master copy, mine, on my, and not in SharePoint, and filter what comes in, and you guys are the filter. So you're gonna read everybody's comments, you're gonna say yay or nay, or, if I don't hear from you, I'm assuming it's what you said was good. Joanne, you added 3 lines to the library paragraph. I thought it was fine, nobody else said anything, and it went. But if you're gonna say the same thing that Sean's gonna say, well, then that actually is important information. And is it a little redundant? I don't know. There's another method, I'm happy to hear it. I just really wanted, I too, everyone struggles with SharePoint. And I wanted to get to the place where these copies were really penultimate. Really, we're about to say final draft, but we're not, because we want the public to always.
I totally agree with that. It's just, if I'm editing my version, I'm reading everything up to the version you sent me, but then I send that in, so somebody can't go to your version, they should go to my version, because it has new things on it now.
No, just on the version you got, because that's it, we're done.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not like
I
a Google Doc,
understand.
Yeah.
everybody's editing it, and you see everything in live.
Right,
That's my only point.
yeah, but I wanted to stop that. I wanted to just say, okay, now, that we're done. All these, these few little stragglers that I expect to come over the transom now, they'll get put on, and we're done. When it gets posted with the name on it, penultimate, that's what I was hoping to do this time, but
Yeah. I think it creates a lot of moving parts, though.
not for me, simpler for me, but
To just post it on SharePoint and have people comment on it, like,
Yeah.
put up a new draft penultimate, take the old one off, that's it. And then if someone has minor changes, they can do it in the SharePoint, and then we can finalize it.
I wanted to put up a copy that no comments, nothing, it's just done, it's just clean,
The problem is you lose track of the changes,
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I kind of do, but I don't agree. I mean,
You're just reading.
you're all
You know
getting,
what changed.
yeah.
I mean, what you can do, we can post like a read-only copy. And then if people have comments, they can write them into you. So that you're not getting all the markup in the document. Is that what you're trying to avoid?
Yeah, I'm
So
trying to
it's
say
not
that, what
look
you're
at it.
looking at now is really pretty close to the end. I mean, it
Right.
just doesn't require, I actually didn't expect anything much back. I just thought, we've talked about these, well, the 2 chapters I sent you, but there's 2 more coming, kind of talked about them a lot. Everything's in there.
I think the only way though to keep something like living and breathing, as you said,
Yeah.
is to just keep it in the SharePoint.
All right.
And that's the only way to, I don't know, that's the only way to,
Yeah, all right,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it also is important for the public, when they make a comment, they can see that their comment is there, and then they can see the change comment. Otherwise, there's a feeling that I made a change, but no one responded to me, I don't know if it got there or not. So having the track.
well, they won't see the SharePoint, though.
But
They
there
don't see
needs to
that.
be a way that the public can understand that, oh, they were definitely heard, and yes, there's the change. I
Yeah,
don't know quite how you can pass that message along.
That's tricky. That's getting back to what you said.
Right.
that's a whole job.
Because if you're gonna say, okay, go back and look at the final document, is your paragraph there, your sentence there, your idea there?
But then someone would have to transfer literally step by step all the public comments.
Every single public comment, every single comment that we've made, at that point, you can't
even
read
read
the document. And that's what we've had happen before with drafts, so we keep cleaning them up and then putting them back out, cleaning them up.
And
putting them
tracking
back out.
the changes, I don't know, at some point, that's just not gonna be available. You're just gonna have to trust that we did it. We did what the info said.
Well, at some point you go through, accept all the track changes, you accept the changes, and then you say, this is version 6, or this is version November 28th or something.
We had said we were gonna do that anyway. We started doing.
We were doing that.
Yeah.
Would we be better off sending them in, like, the public sends them in? Would
No,
that be better? No?
no, not for me. I just wanted the doc, I just thought, well, like I said, I don't have to repeat it. So, yeah, we'll go back to SharePoint.
Okay. I think that the email gets crazy when you start getting like 24 different responses on one chain.
But who's gonna, yeah, but again, we were running into this problem, people weren't looking at the chapter, so you weren't seeing the changes that your fellow CPAC members were making, so that, okay, what do I do now? What do I do? BJ, do I incorporate it? Nobody's responded about it, I don't even know if you've seen it, but if it's an email that you've attached a document to, at least I know you received it. I don't have to guess whether or not you opened your SharePoint. So, I don't know, for me, it was.
So I'm not obliged to then look at other people's versions. I just look at the one that was sent, and I can ignore all the future attachments. I don't have to go back and look at them.
Right, well, I was just thinking, if you got an email from Sean, everybody got an email from Sean with, I made these changes.
And I have to go and look at what Sean, his
The
version.
problem is when
Yeah.
there's 6 emails and you have to open every attachment separately,
Right.
scroll down to page 7,
right.
6 different times to see
Yeah.
the comments.
With like
It becomes cumbersome to try to put it all together.
Yeah, yeah,
A 5 gap between seeing Wendy's comment to,
all right.
Jay's comment.
So I'm gonna post it, and, if I don't, if you guys don't check
Right.
this.
But if it's on SharePoint and there's minimal comments.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a
Yeah,
waiver read, you right-click accept or reject.
right, right. Yeah, no,
Theoretically, I don't know, I'm not seeing it from your end, so.
yeah.
I know it's laborsome on.
When I have my comments open, even the resolved ones are showing. So it's like sort of, it slows me down. So when I was going for a clean copy, this is hours in the tens.
So can you delete the resolved and then post that as a new doc, a new version?
But you run into I can, but, at some point, I wanted to leave that up there in SharePoint, so you all, not everybody remembers everything, we
Well, we can leave the
leave
old
the
docs.
version up, people really, all
Just
these
like
comments.
save as with the new, slightly different name.
Yeah, I think what we have, and I'm gonna just look on it.
I think I just finally figured out. So it's like, no, we have to do something different now.
Yeah.
So, transportation was one of the. I
So,
think we did post it. Yeah, in transportation, it has that penultimate chapter. And then if you go to past chapter versions, so if you.
Maybe
where
we
I
need
might have
something that
gotten
is like
organized.
the active working file.
Have to create folders, just start putting everything.
Well, that's what I
might do with
did.
that.
So if you look at the
Active.
transportation chapter, then there's one that says reference documents, that's a new folder. You click that and it has all the backup reference documents and it has past chapter versions. And then you click on that and it has the last edited version that has all the markups on it. So it has the penultimate as the main document in the chapter, but then if you go to the reference folder, it'll have the edited version with the notes. So we'll do that for each chapter.
But we're basically working on the penultimate or whatever we're calling it version,
Right.
the clean version,
Yeah.
because we've already worked
Because
on
we've
the
already
others.
done all the
Okay.
yeah,
But they're there as.
But they're there as references, and
Makes
should
sense.
something happen and we lose a chapter, we can recreate it.
And
Even though it's saved on my
yeah.
computer and your computer and.
and not all the feedback is in writing. In fact, I'd say more than half of it's verbal. It's from meetings and from workshops.
And some of it is from, the public comment.
Yeah.
So,
So I just want to say, if you see something that you're like, well, maybe I thought that was made a comment from a workshop or from a meeting that we've had.
and I'm still waiting on some of the committees to get back to me with some changes on some of these, like utilities. I know Green
Yeah.
Options has been editing the document as a group and their last meeting got canceled, so I'm gonna incorporate some of their notes. But some of the committees just take longer to get back to us.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've done with that, right?
Mhm. Great.
So the quality of life chapter we just took a look at. Is that on the agenda?
I wanted, part of the email that I sent out, I think we're done discussing those in.
That one's, we can wrap it for now. Got it, okay.
Transportation, quality of life.
No, good, good.
I just found 2 typos in the quality of life chapter,
Great.
so,
Shoot an email to me.
yeah, okay.
But it might have been fixed.
It might have been fixed.
They're on the map. It's very.
Oh, I'm not fixed, so thank you.
Oh, wow.
So we don't have a bathhouse at Crescent Beach, just a bathroom. It says bathhouse.
Oh,
You might
okay,
want to change it.
all right.
And also calls it Wade Beach.
No
not
S,
Wades. You
okay.
might just, that's easy to fix, I guess.
I hope so, yeah, that was Dotson and Finkler. So I tried to edit a map.
I think I have a version of that I can edit.
Okay, all right, good,
Notes to self.
all right.
Okay. So the next thing, for the forthcoming chapters, so the growth and change chapter, I'm trying to work on demographics and I have quite a lot of information. But I want to know if there's specific data that you guys are looking for to help guide the process moving forward. I know we have, age demographics, we have income, we have some housing demographics. I have some data from the building department on applications that have been applied for so that we can see what the trends are. I have a lot of that I'm putting together. But is there anything in particular that stands out as a need?
I guess as far as housing, would we want to see where the available housing is? Like what's already excluded from town code where you can't have accessory buildings?
Okay,
Near Shore, okay, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we should be able to actually generate a map that shows everything in green that would be viable.
Do you want, oh, in green that's viable, oh, that's a good idea, yeah.
Okay.
So these would be potential places for,
Locations for people to build
to put,
houses.
to
Yeah,
have auxiliary housing.
exactly.
I'm stretching my memory a little bit. I think last year, but I know someone PSEG is able to provide almost a map or a list of power usage throughout Shelter Island, throughout the month as well. So we're trying to figure out how many people are actually staying here throughout the winter. Look at the power usage and try to get a good estimate. That may be a good, talking about housing and growth, just kind of, if we can maybe reach out to PSNG and see what can you provide us?
Have that.
Yeah, that would actually probably be more reliable than the census data, because I've been digging through the census and some of that information doesn't even make sense. The 2020 census says there's 0 people between the age of 30 and 39 living on Shelter Island. And I know I filled out the census and I know you filled out the census, so there's at least 2 of us. It is not 0, but the census tells us it's 0.
Is that, you see, it's not a map, it's a list?
I'm not sure what format they might be able to provide it, but I know it is data that they track and they can.
I wonder if we can get
I've
history.
seen that. The chief might have that data.
You may, yeah.
They have that.
All right.
If not, I know we have connections to PSEG that we can.
But even if you had like a monthly tally, an average for July, average for August, or December, or January, you get a really better view.
Right.
And that would also help us get a better understanding of the seasonality of people's living here. You know, how many people truly do only come here 2 months out of the year? How many people do come sporadically all year long? Like,
And see it
would
by
really
address,
give-
yeah.
Can you also get that from the ferry data? Because I know when
Not
they
necessarily.
did their presentation with North Ferry, I know was talking about how they had statistics on that, like purchases of, passages and like the round trip tickets and so forth.
For residents,
I just remember them talking about it in the presentation.
We have better data now for people who use the ferry pass.
yeah.
Because they're literally tracking.
But I wonder if the PSE&G, it would really be almost only useful if you can get it historically.
They can do that too.
You know, I mean,
They should
yeah,
have it. They should
because you
have
get
it.
just 1 year is.
I'd be interested to see what they
But
have to say on what they can offer. And from that point, and also just from a power supply
Right.
aspect,
Yeah.
are we going to reach a point where we need to upgrade or get another main line or something like that?
Does someone feel like doing that? Like contacting PSE&G for us? Right, Jay, I'm looking at you. That'd be great, yeah, really.
When the people have solar, would they show up in that?
They would.
Yeah,
It's either
they do.
their back
They feed that into the grid, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But, I don't pay a bill.
Right.
Yeah.
well, you pay something, you pay that $20 a month.
How they don't know, how I don't consume anything off the grid
But
monthly.
if you're not using any power, you're actually gonna
Yeah, they know.
give back more than years when.
Have a meter?
you do
Yeah, that's a
use.
joke, but okay. I
Well,
understand-
you
I
know,
understand the
theoretically,
idea,
it
but
should-
You don't give anything back.
Yeah, but you have a meter, so they know what you're using.
Yeah, I'm just saying your meter would show, and
So they'd also have a count of how many people have a solar system installed too.
Well, yes, they would. They got-
That's what I mean, that also is a factor. and
That's it, yeah.
You can kind of factor that out and work.
Actually, it's another piece of data that would be worth getting, Jay, when you're asking. Ask how many solar systems. Yeah. That would be good to know, just to know.
that would be good. That would help
Historical by year and by season if possible.
by season if.
Sure, they can do it month by month.
Yeah, if they could do it month by month, that would be even better.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still there, but, I was working with the guy when they were talking about the substation. Down at the old highway barn and stuff, so.
Right.
Yeah. So whatever happened with that, Jay? We didn't get the substation, right?
No, but the connection's still there.
Yeah.
It all just runs past the island.
Yeah.
So for the housing chapter, the town is still waiting to get the revised draft back from the consultants on the housing plan. But the housing chapter itself there's a very rough draft in the SharePoint right now. And that has more the demographics on the island, how many homes have been built, what types of homes. I don't have anything on square footage, but we're trying to get more information from the assessor's office. But I do have all the permits that have been submitted to the building department since 2005 that I've been wading through. So I have all that data, so I'll know, how many applications they receive a year, what type of applications, like how many accessory dwellings have been constructed since 2005. So I have a whole bunch of that kind of information, which should be very helpful for that chapter.
Do we know what kind of residency out of those accessories, if they're year-round or?
No, I don't, but hopefully we can take some of the other information and kind of extrapolate. But what kind of relationships do we want to see in the data? Like, how do we want to compare it or analyze? That's going to be,
That version.
you can skin a cat so many ways. So.
So the goal, I guess, at the end is to find out where we are now,
Yeah,
right? A picture of where we are now, where we're gonna end up filled out,
yeah, build out.
what our occupancy for the island's gonna be
Right,
by season,
yeah,
in the future.
right,
And then the other thing we need to know is what our needs are.
right.
I mean, you can have all this, but you have needs for
We have a
various
little
types of housing.
Yeah. We have a little bit of that in the housing plan. I mean, they
Right.
do address needs, and we can, as we
They have a-
talked about, we can massage that a little bit. In my head, no.
Right, so I mean, you would think
There's-
that we should look at like restaurants,
Yeah,
Right.
their need is 300 people, right?
right,
And you'd think we could probably almost assign a number for the need for the various type of businesses that we're trying to support here on the island.
as opposed to what they did, which was bottom up. It's not a bad idea. I mean, they'll be vastly different, but that's okay. We can have a range. Wow, yeah. Yeah,
So basically, sorry for my ignorance, looking to see what a restaurant, what kind of number of people have to be on the island for a restaurant to be thriving or functioning, yeah.
Yeah, well, we could also go through and kind of, I mean, it's a lot to do for all the different businesses that we have on our list. It takes approximately this many guys
is that
to.
list completed now?
It's pretty good, I
It's
thought.
pretty good, it's pretty
This is list
comprehensive,
good, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I forgot where
but like
we
we can
were.
go through and estimate exactly how many people it takes to run each business and kind of figure out from there.
Right. And I think there's a big assumption there that we'd have to make and make clear with the number, which is not everybody wants to or needs to live here.
Mhm.
There has to, that's sort of the weak link in that analysis. But if you're clear about it, that this is the assumption you made, 50% of the potential employees could be housed here, and this is what the number would look like, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then the other variable is you have some people who are working multiple jobs.
Right.
So they do the restaurant, then they do the lawn care, and then they do, so you
Yeah.
have, one guy doing 3 jobs. So
Counting them 3 times.
it's, yeah.
Well, you can't do that. Gotta count them once.
Right.
But there's specifics that we'll be able to
And-
get to. We'll be able to reach out that way.
There's always going to be gaps like that, but we can get a good idea.
Right.
So housing growth also has to be balanced in terms of resources.
Right. So we have to figuring out what our occupancy is and what our capacity is. That's kind of critical.
But when you say balance with resources, I mean, how do you do that? So there's a 44-acre parcel out there. That's, could be subdivided into 22 parcels. And, we would all be aghast, but unless we buy it, you know what I'm saying? I understand what
You
you're
have to look at what water supplies are available, how would they hook up to current systems, accessible electricity grid, the grid, I mean, 22 houses probably not going to take down the grid, but if you go over the whole island and you start kind of thinking about growth, or, the big houses that are now on the horizon.
I know.
I mean, it's so complicated,
Yeah.
it's beyond our
Scope.
That's
scope and
crazy.
our capabilities.
Yeah, yes.
It's definitely something a consultant would have to, it would probably be a big lift for them, because
Yeah. How do you
you
tell?
can get it so far, but then you go down to the extra layer of, okay, well, West Neck, for example, doesn't have great water because of the saltwater intrusion, and we shouldn't be expanding there as much as, say, the center or other areas where the water is
Okay.
more plentiful
Hey,
quantity-wise, at least.
For example, Hay Beach doesn't have an issue.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So that's why I think one of our goals is to reshape the density or
Right.
manage it the best we can in, all right, if these areas have issues with water, we should try to
Right.
plan to not build more houses there.
Or-
expand any further.
Right, but it's a taking of property
Right.
when you say that.
Mhm.
When you say we have to balance, well, do your balancing someplace else. I want to sell my, I'm just saying.
Well, the bottom line is this is an island with a shore that you can't just say, well, let's just, kind of have a suburb out here.
Mhm.
This is what there is to work with.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm just, when you say.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, oh,
That's where the
I don't understand.
collective sense of community means, I can't just say, well, it's my land, I'm going to do whatever I want on it.
I'm going to build a house on it, though.
I want to build like 5 houses on it or something like
22
that.
houses on my
Right. And yet meanwhile, there's no water supply, or I'm going to.
But don't we have to grapple with that in the comprehensive plan so as to say,
Exactly.
well, water systems, to bring the water from the parts of the island where it is? I mean, again, for somebody who has because that, it also feeds into this question, what is built out? You count all the vacant land, but 10
Some of it's
acres is
still
not equal to 2 acres, of vacant land, they're different. And so if you can count build out a bunch of different ways, and I think the way it was done by Dotson and Finkler was the way of just, let's look at the vacant land, but it's more than that. And there's also a lot of land on this island where there's a house, but there's excess land that could easily be subdivided off. So what is built out? So that this ties in with how.
Very theoretical number.
Build out probably ultimately is what your water supply is gonna be.
Right,
Right.
right,
That kind of goes back to, we've been hearing from the public,
yeah.
that maybe we need to have somebody that's gonna evaluate the
Well,
various water sources.
yeah, then the build out's gonna be different for different parts of the area.
Exactly.
So like in some ways, Silver Beach has probably hit build out, whereas,
Yeah,
Hay Beach, they can
Right.
keep going.
Right.
It kind of depends on where you're located in that situation.
So not everyone's equal in terms of
Right.
potential for
Potential
build out.
for build out,
Right.
right?
And just based off of, just the reality of our environmental situation with the water.
Exactly.
We can do what we can to try to fix it, which we need to.
Yeah.
So one of my comments back last week when we were talking about recharging water,
yeah,
there was a question about that.
Yeah.
So my point was that if you look at Little Ram,
yeah,
we have one storm drain in Little Ram.
Yeah.
We're not really recharging water in a part of the island that really needs recharge.
yeah,
So I mean, I think that's like, when we talk about infrastructure,
right,
those are like the spots, Montclair Colonies, the beach, we shouldn't be allowing any water going. We should get it all down.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I know a couple spots out on, Little Ram that would benefit greatly from water that ultimately just ends up right in the harbor.
yeah, yeah,
So they never have a chance to even use that water,
right,
where it could take 300 feet away from the shoreline. It could take a year for it to get there,
yeah,
just moving laterally out. We just get it there in a day.
yeah,
So those are focuses that we could do to make it better for everybody.
right. But that's in roads, that needs to go into, that suggestion was made in roads, but
That
then,
touches a bunch of,
but it needs to go into
Well, it should
natural
go in the envi-
resources.
Yeah, it'll go in the natural resources chapter too, because
Environmental,
there's
yeah.
a whole
Does it really,
section in that chapter
Yeah.
on,
Recharge?
well, and yeah, recharge, but on like the dry wells, but also on the overflow
Yeah.
pipes that we were trying to eliminate for,
Oh, yeah, there's two on
PC
Winthrop.
and.
But I think that surface, the report that was done in 2020, though, is,
It does recommend that.
yeah, no, it recommends that. No, but it also is pretty good about water and,
Yeah, but we shouldn't have any water going overboard if we can help.
no, absolutely, but I'm just saying that in terms of, just say it baldly, which is, the island has enough water. It just doesn't have it in the right places.
Right.
And I mean, that's the upshot. And so in the comprehensive plan, what we think, but also what the public thinks is, do we want to say that, okay, but we're going to live with that, or okay, we're going to build water systems, distribution. And so it's really directly to your comment, Wendy, and it's a big one.
Right, well, it's also enough water for what?
All the houses that could be built.
All potential, so every piece of land could be developed and be fine.
Or, or do we, or do we then, because then you have to think about changing zoning, to say,
Is that a desirable outcome? Is that what the public?
not to me, but,
I mean, I think that's.
Yeah, but that's the question. I mean,
yeah, but I
that's-
think it's a tough one that we have to grapple with.
We already changed the zoning to make that happen. We're already allowing accessory houses on a 1 acre. We just made it half-acre zoning.
Right. And it is competing need. Housing is a competing need with resources.
But this, it's sort of out of our control and even out of the comprehensive purview in a sense. If Silver Beach says 40% of the homeowners there say we want a water system, they go to SWIPA and they put it in for them.
Right.
Town didn't say, we don't have a choice. They're doing it. The community does it.
Right.
So we can plan all we want,
Right.
but if that community organizes themselves to say, that's what we want,
Yeah.
that's what we get. Or if it was Montclair or anywhere else, or even Little Rand.
Well, I agree with you, John, but I think as we're going through housing, we do, I think Wendy's observation needs to be sort of in our minds with everything that we're reading and all the data that we're collecting and to just be constantly promoting this idea of balance.
We have,
Property rights versus the rights of all of us to have water.
so we do have needs though for key personnel on the island that I think are the ones we need to look for. The EMS,
Yeah,
fire, police,
right,
key personnel that,
yeah,
I mean, should be the first heavy focus.
right.
I mean, even some town employees, I mean, like you have the ferry employees, you have highway, you have, there's a whole bunch of people that keep the island running.
Yeah,
Those are the people.
and really
that-
shouldn't live off island for whatever,
Right.
they're, yeah, whatever they serve, whatever their service is, but
So how do you figure that?
in terms of a number, it's a big number. And again, does everybody want to live here? You have a partner who works, in Holbrook. You want to live in Riverhead. I mean, we can come up with a range, probably.
So one of the key things for me would be how many members in the fire department actually can go into a building? How many people do we have that can go in and rescue somebody?
Yeah.
That number, I believe, is
And then we
dwindling,
have to.
Did you see that old man who dropped my glasses off?
right?
He's an inside guy. I mean, really, they're old guys.
Yeah.
It's hard to
They're gonna
recruit.
count on Sean showing up.
Yeah, and it's hard to recruit younger people.
You got to start the hose and pull it in.
I mean, it's, yeah.
So that's part of what we're gonna be looking at. But there is a very rough draft of the housing chapter in the SharePoint. And then the growth and change chapter is all gonna be just demographic information on how things have evolved from 94 to now. The majority of the information is really between like 2000 to 2022, because it's really hard to get the older data. I do have some of it that I printed off of old census from, was it 95?
Yeah.
And 2000. So I have some of the older stuff that I'm trying to put together, just so we can see the trends and what's been happening. But once again, some of the census data is just wacky.
The 2020
Like the
stuff.
2020 stuff is just,
We have no faith in it, so.
No, it's too much.
Yeah.
it's all over the place. Just the fact that there's literally no one in their 30s who lives on the island is just
That sounds
obviously
just simply
incorrect.
inaccurate.
Right.
But then you also have the kind of pandemic
It's
weirdness.
that weird pandemic fluctuation, but then it also has that, 9% is under the age of 18,
Yeah.
but we know that the school population grew during that year. So it's
reliable data.
It's not varying. So I gotta,
So we might not, I mean, after we have, again, another thing to keep in mind when you get this chapter cleaned up and ready for your review, is that, do we want to even include in some cases the 2020 data, or do we want to include it with a big parentheses?
But I would say color coded or something with a kind of warning that this is.
Look at the trend.
We are aware this is inaccurate to some degree.
Yeah.
We don't really know what.
because if you look at the population trend, and, we're pretty consistent around the 26, 27,000, and then it just jumps.
Yeah.
Right. Jumps to 3,200. But over the years, the trend has really stayed consistent, but we don't have data from, this year or last year
Yeah.
to show that it's dropping
That
back
it's
down,
dropping
but
down,
we do
yeah.
have proof that it's kind of leveling back out, so.
And the school census supports that, but, yeah.
But we're still busy on the island, so there has been a shift, but we don't know what it is yet, and we may not know until the next,
Well, I think the shift over like the longer term period, like since the 90s, since the early 90s, is that more people have more, these houses are they're big, a lot of money. They
Can't afford to use them 2 months out of the year.
Yeah, they use them. I mean, and I think also if you, in the city, things have gotten smaller. I just think that that's different. It used to be you locked it up Labor Day and you didn't come
That was
back
true
out.
of Hamptons too, is that Labor Day, everyone left.
Yeah.
They didn't come back until Memorial Day.
Right.
And now they're here.
yeah,
Yeah.
extended.
Almost, they're through Christmas, they're out there.
There's also a thing called climate change.
And
Yeah.
And so the seasons
Are different.
different, and people
Yeah.
stay
It's
longer.
extended the
It's true.
season.
Considerably.
We had a beautiful October,
Yeah.
I mean,
Forsythia's Blooms.
all my roses bloomed again.
Same.
It's like, oh, these poor things are gonna be so sad.
And New York City taxes is the other thing. To spend 6 months in a day here,
So these are all
matters,
things
it's a lot of
that-
money.
And the ability for a lot of people to work remotely.
Yep.
Which has been a sea change.
Yes.
That's true too.
Also, could it be that a lot of the services or the entertainment things that they used to enjoy in the city are now so prevalent out here compared to the 90s?
Yeah.
So all those things that people were, taking place or enjoying, it can be done here.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they're just taking that life.
City department, but okay.
But I think there's newer attractions here too. So there's a lot of like agritourism now.
Yeah.
That never really used to be here. It was more like mom and pop farms. Now it's like, come out and spend a day on the farm.
Jazz on the Vine in February.
There's so many events now.
Carbs.
Exactly. Carbs and all the other things like that.
Carbs needs to be a four-lane highway.
Have become more popular. There's shift.
Yeah.
So in growth and change, is there economic development there?
It's pretty much all the demographic statistics, all the economic changes, economic statistics, all that. So that's also in SharePoint. And there are notes on things that need updating and stuff, but that's in SharePoint as well.
So are there some of these that you want us to start working on, or do
I
you
would
want to wait
say-
until you get them to a certain point?
You can go in and make notes on housing growth and change, and I'm gonna be adding some of the data that I've been able to pull together, and I'm gonna add it into the chapters. But with your notes, I'll be able to really focus on where the data's going.
Right.
Because there's just
yeah.
so much all over, but.
No, and that was really key for transportation. Now, I had that chapter where I thought it was good before subcommittees. But then there was a lot of comment, there's not enough, we need transportation studies, blah, all that. And we're not doing studies. So but data was to be found, so that's what I think. If you read Housing Now or growth and change, and you said, wow, glaring lack of information
Right.
on this.
Here are the gaps, or
That
this
would be
doesn't
great.
seem right, there's something glitchy
Not to
here.
wait till the end.
Yeah.
The versions that you want us to read will be in SharePoint.
They're in there now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so don't wordsmith, don't do that yet. Just really, what do you think is
Missing,
missing?
basic, okay,
Read it for that, I would say.
that's helpful.
And Meg might have already done it, but it doesn't matter. You know, she still has to decide, what she's done a lot, so that, some of that, we can't put it all in there. I don't think the chapter would be, so. It would be good to have the input.
And I also, I'm trying to prioritize what information to really dig into. I do think that the age demographics are important.
Yeah.
Just so we can see, they're also hard to nail down. So it's kind of looking at trends. So what's the trend for the island? So things like that I'm trying to focus on, and kind of the trend for the school, the trend for the like rentals, if we can get some of that information for the housing, I'm gonna go. And again, for that information, it's kind of a different pool of information than what I've pulled already. So just,
And that's weak, you know.
yeah,
It's gonna be.
it is.
You might also even, check with the senior department with Sarah and Lori for, just trends with our seniors,
Yeah.
Are we way at the high end of the aging senior
Right.
population, or we are at the lower,
Right.
our senior population can spread wide variety.
does,
and-
Yeah, are we too old?
Yeah, are we in the 90 and
Or
above, 85 and
Yeah, I
above,
think
or are
old
we?
75 and above. Do we have that? Does the census
I
do
do
that?
have something.
'Cause that's a whole different population.
The census does have
Yeah.
85 and above. But I have, I know that a lot of the people who are attending the senior center are definitely on the older end of the spectrum.
And then, I want to define that, senior center going to Silver Circle or
Versus.
going to
Congregate.
congregate meals or getting, Meals on Wheels.
Right.
These are all different things and meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the
different things.
statistics on, how many meals we provide and all of that.
Right.
But the ages are something that varies.
They have that data.
Yeah.
To give it to the county.
They have it. I'll get it from them.
Yeah.
That might help.
Sarah has a lot of data for like the nutrition program, and
Yeah.
I remember seeing that somewhere in something that we had, and it was just, it has increased and just be interesting just to kind of.
You look at the congregate meals versus the Meals on Wheels,
Right,
and if you make the assumption that the Meals on Wheels is because they can't get in,
right.
can't make the,
You're more homebound.
yeah.
Does the food pantry have any data about usage
Pantry.
that would be relevant?
Cass
It's,
And Cass,
Nurse Mary has the cast.
definitely has data on usage.
Serves 48 families
Every other week.
every other week right now,
That's a lot.
which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that the food pantry serves a good number of people as well.
I'm not sure they track.
I don't know that they
I
do
don't think
because
they do
it's kind of open.
It's open and
open
people,
policy.
there isn't
Yeah.
there isn't somebody there all the time.
Right, but cast does.
But
The cast number, families are interesting because they are not the quote, working poor necessarily, or not overwhelmingly. There's a lot of elderly people who can't make ends meet with
Wow. In R48,
in the 48.
I'm sorry, what is CAST?
Cast is,
Community Action Southold Township.
is that what it's called? It's based in Southold, and it's an outreach and social service.
Oh, I know where that is, okay.
Um,
But it's
but
here too?
Yes,
serves here. They branched out
they
to
bring
help.
a,
Started in
van
June.
Yeah, I have seen, I know where their building is.
twice a month
Yeah.
to Shelter Island. They used to be over in Greenport, and then when they moved to Southold, they found that the people on Shelter Island couldn't get to the Southold facility, so they come over twice a month.
And it's perishables.
It's perishables.
Kind of key, is our pantry, of course.
Right, yeah, it's fruits and veg, but they also have like a social worker there to help people with job hunting and all kinds of other issues. It's not just, their goal is to make people self-sufficient, not to just give them
Wow.
carrots.
Right. Our social worker, I wonder if we
48
shouldn't just-
families.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
On Shelter
Yeah.
Island.
That's a lot.
Yes.
If you think we're 2,600 year-round
Yeah.
people, year-round, that's, I do, yeah.
48 not making it, and people wonder why we have a housing,
Yeah.
that we don't have a housing crisis, yeah.
And that's not including the unknown of the food pantry.
Right.
Right,
Those 48 are living here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
They're using gas services when they come here.
Right.
So they have some kind of housing.
They could have housing, but they're saying they can't make ends meet, they could be renters.
Because
They-
that they're spending
there's
so much
something.
on the housing piece.
Well,
I'm just
yeah,
saying
that's what the
it's-
housing plan showed, the, when, the
Right.
report showed that.
100%
Of
of
100% of renters are beyond that 30% of their income is being going towards rent.
100%, wow.
Yeah,
What do they call that? Not rent stress, they call it, I can't think
yeah,
of
there's a term for it.
it.
It's difficult if you live in an area where they can rent places in the summer for a fortune. So to live here full-time is all of a sudden, you can't move out of your house for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, especially those 3 months that you're probably working your hardest.
Right.
Trying to make all the money you need for the year.
All right, so those are the two chapters we're going to do for December. So go in, look at them. I'm going to be adding information to them as we go. I have a whole bunch of charts and graphs. I'm trying to figure out the best way to visualize it. But
And back to the last two of the subcommittees that we've already done, utilities and economic development. I know with utilities, I'll send you, and it might have a few things, like we're still waiting for a little data from Green Options, but I really want it to be pretty much done. So in the next 2 weeks, I hope you'll get that. Notice that on SharePoint is the draft that I'm hoping is the one that we can just discuss online, that we don't discuss it in person anymore for utilities. And then economic development, we haven't really dug into what came from the subcommittee yet. So when we do, maybe with that one too, we can do our changes online, not in a meeting, and start with housing in December. Ambitious.
I know, well,
Just because I'm stupid. So to edit housing and the other chapter, we pull it up on SharePoint, we go to editing and put our comments. in.
Yes.
And that's
Yep.
that's it.
That'd be
is-
great. And yeah.
And then you can see everybody else's comments too.
And like I said, not too detailed, more of what you think glaring to you. It's not answering this question, whatever it is, fill in the blank. Yeah. I think we started the other way last time, and I think it cost us time.
Was the housing
Started with the
plan
minutes meeting, yeah.
and
going to be a separate document that this links to, or is it going to be incorporated within this?
it will probably either be a subsection of the chapter or an appendix for the chapter.
Yeah.
But it has to be included in the plan. So as soon as we get it back from the consultants, I will put it in the SharePoint. So it's there with the chapter, so you have all their information, because the consultants had a lot of public meetings, they had a lot of input from the public, so it should be included.
Because that might drive a lot of our commenting here.
Exactly. So I'll put it in there as soon as we get it. We just haven't gotten it back, because we got a lot of public input on the draft, the first draft that we got, and they needed more details, more information. So we should get it back with more of that.
Yeah, and like, why don't we have it?
Well, because she got COVID and then it was Thanksgiving, so
Yeah, but I'm just gonna send off.
yeah, good idea. So the chapter is the chapter 5, housing, chapter editing version. And so the background growth and change is in chapter 1, and it's growth and change editing version. That's in there too. And you'll see, I already have a ton of notes on like, this is missing and that's missing, and we need to update this. And you'll see that the very first section says the people of Shelter Island, who are we? And it's blank, because I was going to go into the demographics of like the age distributions and all of that. And originally it had sort of like a recap of chapter 2's like history of the island. And I was like, that doesn't really belong here. So I took that out. And so now it's just going to be the updated demographics on our age distribution and that kind of thing. But yeah. So that's what we're gonna work on.
Is that where like the professions or job held is going to be as well?
Yeah, I'm gonna do all the information on, like degrees, like education, just trying to get the whole picture of the island, sort of a summary of the census essentially. So that'll be fun. Hopefully, our eyes don't get too squirrely staring at the computer.
Too late.
I know. All right, so that's for December. That's what we're going for.
BJ, did you get the flyover I did for the Pros Fit building I was looking at?
No.
Okay, I'll try to send it again when we get on.
Oh,
You didn't
I
get
liked it. Yeah, I didn't respond yet. I was gonna wait till I saw you.
flyover, like with a drone?
No, I did a 3D rendering of a new fit building. I was just wondering if you had got it.
It's in the.
Is that when you were laid up and had all the extra time on your hands?
Really?
Yeah.
Looked into the one, like the old Legion? No.
No, over here at the wall.
Where's that posted?
down by the
Oh,
tennis courts.
right,
It
yeah,
theoretically could be anywhere, but that's a
Anyway,
yeah,
ideal education.
I was just wondering if.
except for those neighbors. I remember we tried to park buses there, it was very not welcome.
All right, so, that's all I got. You got anything?
I got nothing, old business, new business, I think we covered all that. Meg, are you gonna be working on a 2023 timeline, or should we just,
Yeah, I'll update it.
you wanna formalize that?
Yeah, I'll update it.
Okay.
Because I'll have all the dates now that we've approved the dates for the meetings, then we can work out when we're gonna have the workshops, and then that should help with the chapters.
Right.
So just curious,
Yeah,
what about the consultant?
yes, January, February, we're gonna,
January is the start of the new grant cycle, so we've already talked to, what's her name?
John?
Jen, thank you. And so she knows that as soon as that cycle opens, we want to put in an application for
We don't have one in.
consultants.
RFP.
Because it has to, well, for the grant.
Yeah, for the grant, I mean.
For the grant.
We didn't have one in for this past year?
No, because that had already lapsed. So it goes in as soon as it opens.
Gotcha. And the likelihood of getting that grant is?
Pretty high, I think.
Yeah.
From what I've been told, it's pretty high.
How long does it take to get
94, we're desperate.
considered?
Is it an annual application or is it for a period of time?
I think it's annually. But we'll get clarification on that. But she knows it's on our list of things to apply for as soon as it opens.
Yeah.
What did you ask, Lynn?
I just asked, how long would it take to find out?
Oh, hopefully not too long. I think it takes, if it opens in January, usually by March.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another cycle.
Consultants until,
But we
We'll
have
put out
some
an
money to
RFP
get,
at the same time.
yeah, and we have some money to get going in the budget, so, for consultants, so,
So one way or the other, we're going to bring on a consultant. It's just the additional
Pays for
grant
it.
funding.
yeah.
Because we've doubled our budget for
Yeah.
a consultant because we rolled over the money from last year and combined it with the same amount of funds. So it's 90,
Yeah, 90,
it's around 90 now, so we can get a
Do
consultant.
we have
no
somebody in
matter what.
mind?
no,
So that process really needs to get going
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
soon. Look at this face.
I hear you.
But yes.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
We're entering into the month and a half where nothing.
Nothing
It's the
happens.
transition
know,
month.
I
yeah.
know. But it's also a good time to get some of this sort of stuff done. We'll see, our to-do list is huge right now.
But the RFP shouldn't be,
Yeah, it shouldn't be,
Yeah, she'll bang it right out.
Yeah.
That's not the problem.
yeah.
The problem is getting the advertisement out to find the
To
consultant.
get in, yeah, and who wants to work on small potatoes? You know, it's not a big job, but it's also, it's not nothing. You know, you can't just
Yeah.
take the job and then not do the work. So,
I have some ideas, but we're gonna.
Yeah.
Plan is to have all that done by January.
you all worked with Dotson and Pinkler, right? And what was the big criticism? I mean, I know there was criticism, but or were they not so terrible? I mean, I'm going over their chapters and but
It just did, to me, they didn't seem to really understand the island at all. They seemed to be just basically taking what they'd done somewhere else and pasting it on top.
A lot was kind of force-fed.
Yeah, oh,
Top down. A company like that, it's what they do.
Right.
yeah.
It's cookie cutter. We're going to try to make you fit into our cookie cutter. Because it's easy for me. And I, you know, it's not necessarily a knock on them, but I mean, personally, it felt a little.
So our stuff coming, you know, what we've done, so I'm kind of encouraged then. So you know what I'm saying, that we're gonna give you, here's a rough draft, we're calling final drafts, but at least it has.
Make it uniform, edit
Yeah.
it, so it's,
Right,
doesn't.
it's
like with
legal.
Excel.
Errors on it.
The flavor, the reality of what the island is, okay.
And it
So, I
won't be
mean-
based
I mean,
on
I've read
data that's
this
way up there. It'll be based
Southwold
on stuff
plan
that we
didn't look so
actually-
bad.
Yeah,
Maybe we reach out to them.
yeah, definitely, I like this.
And I have a list of consultants that have done plans around us.
That was like a decade in the making, though.
Well, that was also done with their planning department.
Yeah.
Since they have a planning
Their
department.
planning department left
And
and
police
gone
work, we
out.
call that a clue.
Oh, that's a good point, Joanne.
I mean, a lot of those people may, or some of those people may have left and gone out
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, our own.
on their own.
yeah, that's a good point.
or just to call their planning department,
Yeah.
Yeah.
pick their brains.
We have children playing.
They're very happy. They're very
They're writing it down.
Yeah.
All right. The goal is to get that done by January. All right.
Good.
Anything else?
Also Rex.
Anybody from the public?
Yes,
Lily?
yes, I want to say that having been relegated to the public, I can finally speak. Thank you.
Governor Hochul.
Point out that I strongly protest BJ and Meg changing the process of how we've been proceeding. It looks to me like you're trying to rush everything through and wrap it up just now when we're getting to the most important chapters. Take, for example, economic development. Unless a chapter is discussed in an open session here, that is a very important chapter. We wrote a draft, Petra sent it in on Wednesday, not Friday, BJ. It could have been on the agenda for discussion. It should have been tonight.
Lily, it's going to
You
be,
could always put your editing comments in after. Let me speak now. But it wasn't. And now I learned tonight, as Petra I'm sure does, that you want only online editing. The public doesn't get to really see and hear the issues when it's simply online editing. It's obscured, it's difficult to get to the issues. It comes out more openly in a public session. So I, number one, suggest that you keep to the process we've followed for the last year, including with economic development, and don't look like you're trying to rush this whole thing through, the whole comprehensive plan through in the winter when people are not around. Note this, I protested doing important business. This is the end day of Thanksgiving weekend. The next meeting is right before Christmas. This is not a publicly friendly process or calendar.
all right, so we had the discussion here and we decided to not do it the way BJ proposed, but to keep doing it on SharePoint. So the process is staying the same. And the economic development chapter was going to be on my agenda for December because I had comments from other committees that I needed to incorporate into it, and I didn't have time to do it. So instead of handing it out to the entire committee, missing gaps of information that I had received from other committees, I wanted to put it all together and then give you plenty of time to look over it so that it could be a robust discussion at the December meeting. Is that sufficient?
That's much better. This means we certainly have to move back housing and demographics.
Maybe.
They
Well, I
can't.
think everybody should start looking, Lily.
No.
Everybody can start looking and giving me feedback on what information we're missing in housing and growth and change. I don't think those chapters are going to be done next month,
But we can get.
but I need to know what information is missing so that I can go and find it in the data that we have. So I'm not saying those chapters are going to be finished next month, but the economic development chapter will be on the agenda next month because that is a more complete document.
Thank you.
And
Petra?
can I just ask a quick, follow-up question? Hey, everybody, sorry I wasn't able to be there today. I just want to make sure I'm understanding the process that we're going through. So we draft a chapter, whether that's the subcommittee, other members of the CPAC, Meg, you and BJ. The draft chapter is then put onto the SharePoint, or does it go to the committee first for discussion, and then at the same time we put it on the website so that the public can also look at it? We then discuss it in one of our CPAC sessions, make further edits, then it goes to a public meeting. I'm just trying to make sure that I have
Right.
clarity on what the
Right.
process is here.
So we're BJ and I and Julia are putting together the draft and it's going on SharePoint. And then we, as the whole committee, will discuss it and make comments and edits. And then it will go to the public for review. And then we receive the public comments and then it comes back to the CPAC and we polish it. But before it goes out to the general public for comment, we want the entire CPAC committee to review it so that it's getting all that input before it goes to the public. We want it to be a pretty complete
Yep,
document
okay.
before the public, has to.
Right.
And really what I'm trying to do is just to move the meetings and I've definitely heard that economic development is not ready for what I'm proposing for transportation, the quality of life, community services, and utilities, which is, we've talked about them enough. And we're to the point where it's just the version before the final. And any comments from this committee can be made in writing. And we don't need to use meeting time for that. So economic development, not there yet, great, let's talk about it at the next meeting. So I hope that makes sense. I just felt like we were spending too much committee time on chapters that we had already discussed fairly fully.
So is our plan then the next public meeting will be economic development as a primary? And then if there's time, we'll get to housing or get to growth and change? Again, I'm just trying to ask a clarifying question here.
Mhm.
Is it over?
I don't know. Did we lose people?
I hear nothing.
I don't either. And I'm like on a,
Hey, guys, sorry, we lost audio in town hall, so we couldn't hear you. I'm gonna mute my computer. Can they hear me?
Yeah, you got-
Can you hear me? We can't hear you, Petra. You muted yourself.
No, we're frozen.
No, but
No,
she's
Meg's
doing
not.
her-
There we
Hey,
go. Hey.
sorry, town hall froze, so it's just my laptop at the moment. So I
Okay.
didn't hear your
Did
question.
you guys hear my question or no?
No, you started
Okay.
talking and then we lost all sound.
All right. My question was, for the next public meeting on the 16th, will the primary chapter be economic development, since that's clearly further along than growth and change and housing, just in terms of like where we're orienting and advertising for the public?
Yes.
Yes, the public workshop.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Because the committee will have enough time to go over the chapter before that meeting and put their comments in.
Couple times, maybe.
Yeah, so we should have.
Okay.
time. Yeah,
Great, thank you.
Until the 19th.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do it, online.
yeah, but it'll be in SharePoint, so
Yeah,
we'll do
no,
it that way.
But I mean, to say, to just
You
Lily's
heard
point,
us
you
with
know.
the economic chapter has been up there that you want us to take a look at.
Right, we will. Kim,
I see your hand up.
Hi, can you
Hey.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, just as like a member of the public trying to interface, I really appreciate some of the comments tonight because it hasn't been seamless. And it might be helpful to basically tell, I do know how to go and look at your agendas, but it might be helpful to just say things like, last chance to comment on X. You know, here's where you can find it. For example, tonight, my comment is going to be on the transportation chapter, which actually I think is great and very well written, but I didn't realize until I saw it in its quote unquote penultimate form that it might be the last chance. And I was a little probably late. So to have some interface with the public about what we've all just been discussing, which is what you're going to talk about when, and when their comments are appropriate, and when might even be a cutoff date. I don't know if you're actually doing that where it's cut off, we're done. That's the end of that chapter. Thank you very much. That would be helpful to know as well. So I will get on because I know it's been a long meeting. So let me just get on to my more substantive comment, which is on the transportation chapter. And first I'll ask your permission. May I still comment on it? I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there is
So
no, like drop dead, no longer accepting comments. You know, if you see something, say something. But you know, we're just not going to take we're not going to take an entire work session to just talk about the chapter because we've already had multiple
okay.
talking about the chapter.
Yes, and as I said, when I saw that pop up on the website in connection with looking at your agenda for this meeting, I was sort of, oh my gosh, I might have missed my chance. So I'll try to get my chance right now and not be too long about it. I'm on page 13 of the transportation chapter, and I'm now reading to you quickly from it. The trends observed by the Bay Constables and reported to the WMAC in the fall of 2021 are notable for their possible long-term impact on the quality of island life. I think this is incredibly key. It goes to the waterways. I know you've said you may have a separate chapter on waterways, but here it is. And it's pretty notable as you using your word. Increasing numbers of day charter boats hailing from Sag Harbor and elsewhere. An increase in for-hire water sports in various areas. Increased usage of Cockles Harbor and West Neck anchorages. Larger vessels with greater horsepower using inside waters. And, well, increased jet ski traffic, which is annoying, but my point is that I think this is really great, what you've observed as trends, and it's really true, and it has huge impact. We are an island, and our waters are incredibly important. And I looked at your action items and also goals and objectives. I didn't come up with language yet, and I didn't really come up with a place to fit this in. But your action items do include new regulations, such as a no wake zone, as something for the town to at least consider. What I would like to ask the town to commit to in its comprehensive plan is no dredging of inside waters just to accommodate larger horsepower boats. I've talked with a number of environmentalists, a number of environmental organizations who care about the island, and they are suggesting, because that's where I go when I say, we're doing a comprehensive plan here. Can you give me any advice? And that is the advice that I got from them, which is please ask your planners to consider a commitment to this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kim.
Oh, I'll follow up with some language,
Yeah.
but it would be great if the town could do that.
Okay. Yeah. And you can, just
Yeah.
write it, submit it to us. That'll be great. And then we'll
Okay.
have it.
That'd be, yeah,
Have
really.
there been recent examples of that?
No, usually we
Yeah, I didn't
dredge
think so.
because
Yeah,
But
it's
I
a
think
flow problem and
might
then,
be anticipating something
yeah.
that with the increased money that's come to the island,
Mhm.
could
They want
very
more
well
and
be.
more
I've
people.
heard tell that there's a rumor that someone on Cockles Harbor wants to bring in a really big boat, extend his dock and bring in a really big boat. I mean, like,
We can't go.
and that's something
No.
in the waterways chapter that I want to address, you know, when we get there, or waterway subchapter, however we do it. But is maybe, is it gonna be a limit on the size of boats on inside waters?
Right.
Great idea.
I mean, you know, I won't be popular with everybody, but yeah.
Well, this is where you have to kind of balance individual desires and property,
Right.
the public good.
Right, it comes back to balance. We're just trying to find balance.
Well, you know, and then I think it's also a question of these trends that have been observed, because it's not just one or two examples. And the trends listed on page 13 are something that everybody on this committee has already agreed about. The numbers, the increasing frequency, the effect on the environment. And so it's, you know, it's not just one person who wants to do something, although I know that goes on. It's the sort of general thing that's happening everywhere on the island. And, you know, I'm not going to get into this because I'm not on your committee, but when you talk about build out, that's build out on the water.
Yep.
Right, no,
Yeah.
that's true. What's the final number of moorings we want on the island? You know, I mean, that's an important consideration when we get to it.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? I think we're still frozen.
Yep.
All right.
But you're not.
So, yeah, no, I'm good, but I don't see anybody else with a hand up online. So does anybody in the room have anything else?
Good to go.
I think, make a motion to go home and have dinner.
Yeah.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Good night, guys. Thank you.